It was only a matter of time until Hello Games would delight us with yet another insane project. Light No Fire, the title they've been working on and hinting for the past 5 years, finally got its first gameplay trailer reveal, and there's so much here to talk about. I don't think people realize just yet how ambitious this game is. I mean, besides the fact that it's trying to completely recreate an entire planet, which is why we're going to go over a full breakdown of everything you need to know about it. Now, first things first, what is Light No Fire? Well, Hello Games describes it as an action-adventure RPG that also combines survival and exploration elements set on a fantasy planet the size of Earth. Now, at first glance, this might seem less ambitious than creating an almost infinite universe like the one in No Man's Sky, but looking at their marketing material, they indeed intend to recreate an entire planet to the scale of our very own Earth. And unlike No Man's Sky, which mostly suffers from having only one biome per planet, which also kind of, makes just planets in general feel a little bit more bland, this one features everything on the same celestial body, from lush and vibrant vistas, desolate deserts, all the way to towering snowy mountains and deep unexplored oceans, and many more biomes in there that they have already advertised. There's no mistake here that they truly want to bring to life an entire planet on a scale that hasn't been attempted before in a video game. And that is in part possible because of procedural generation, which at this point I guess they mastered after more than 10 years of developing and then updating No Man's Sky. In fact, according to its description, the whole planet is fully open world. You can completely explore it in a seamless way, either solo or with your friends. And it's clear that the studio has nailed the art style part too. Like, there are quite a few similarities to the vibe that No Man's Sky also has, but obviously many of the animations, especially for the character walking and even some of the new ones for base building, have been improved massively. So even that plus draw distance in general just looks much better in this game. Now, speaking of charm, an exciting element here is the even bigger focus on role-playing elements. There's more emphasis on fantasy this time around too. So there will be character creation, which apparently features different races. There are humans, but also these humanoid creature hybrids that you can choose from, with different heads featuring different animals like wolves, rabbits, bears, foxes, and so on, as you can see from the different shots in the trailer. Also, unlike No Man's Sky, the game features, if not a multiple class system, at least different playstyles with different weapons to choose from. So for example, we've seen characters featuring sword and shields on their back, maybe fitting a more tanky kind of role. There's also characters with two-handed great swords. In this case, one even wielded a sword that was set on fire, being an excellent option to deal with some of these enemies. Also archers, so yes, you can use bows, which seems to also be useful at hunting, another thing that we're gonna be doing in this game. And finally staves, possibly a magic wielder, as this game does seem to heavily imply magic is real and it's useful in this world. Now, the game is also filled with lore, and it seems there's a main story. I'm not yet clear if this is fully narrated with cutscenes and voice acting, but it does seem there are a lot of these mysterious ancient structures and artifacts that are somewhat reminiscent of the ruins we could find in No Man's Sky, kinda giving us clues about the past and some ancient civilizations. It's interesting to note that we don't just get humans, but these huge troll-like characters too. Now, they might serve a story purpose, or maybe this is some kind of vendor, given the fact that it does seem we get to visit some of these hubs, maybe habitable zones, or maybe some of these smaller civilizations we might find around. Additionally, I'm most excited for boss fights, as there are some heavy hints towards that, something that, No Man's Sky never had, including this absolutely giant monolith boss, I would say, at least towards the end of the trailer. It definitely looks ominous, and it definitely seems that the party is getting close to engaging with it. In fact, the whole ominous power, at least like the orb we see in the end, heavily reminds me of Atlas in No Man's Sky. Maybe there's even a connection here. Now, obviously, the other important aspect is the survival, which is another huge element of this game. Hunting, gathering, and base building are all going to be a massive part of Light No Fire. I also have to say that I'm absolutely in love with how base building looks in this game. Completely different architectural style than in No Man's Sky, and this scene with the walls forming has some really nice quality animations to it. Now, from the looks of it, we can use tools such as axes to cut down trees and then transport the resulting wood to build new structures. That, or maybe these are some kind of transporter NPCs, maybe we can create some sort of community and have the AI just do this for us. This just gives me in general some heavy Valheim vibes, and it seems that we can also achieve more complex builds, such as the better looking house a bit further up the hill. Obviously, there must be some other types of resources we can also collect, which implies there are other tools we can use for extraction. But looking at the details, it definitely seems customizing even the interiors of these houses is definitely possible. So just like in No Man's Sky, base building is going to be a huge part of this game. Again, something that you can do solo, fully, or with a group of friends. In fact, this is something that you're going to want to do because there's a permanence to the buildings that you create on this planet Earth of sorts, and this is something that other players might stumble upon. So you might just go there out exploring and encounter somebody else's creation, or they can uncover yours. Now we also have a look at the pretty minimalistic UI, which does convey quite a bit of information. So in the middle we have the sun and the moon indicating the time of day. This might be useful when exploring underground caves, plus indicating that there's also a day and night cycle to take into account. Then at the top we have what I assume to be that biome indicator, because it seems to correspond with the types of environments these shots are in. So in the underwater shot we have that whale underwater icon. In the forest area we have the leaf, and then on the grassy plains it seems that we have the grass icon indicator. So possibly this might also imply there are some other advantages and bonuses we get from being in these locations. Now we also have a temperature gauge to the right side, which roughly just tells us how cold or hot it is outside, something that we have to take into account. And this seems to correlate with that circle filling to the left of it. So obviously yellow is going to be for heat and cold is going to be indicated by the blue color. However, this isn't going to be the HP value. HP is actually being displayed to the top left corner of the screen. This seems to be something else, maybe a buff that provides the opposite effect. So maybe indicating a way to keep us cool under hot conditions or keep us warm under very cold conditions. Also to the bottom right side of the screen we have the currently selected item or weapon, so be it a torch or any of the selected weapons. Plus, it's quite obvious that first person and third person camera likewise are making a return, so likely something we can switch to, very similar to how it is in No Man's Sky. Now hunting is all but confirmed, as we've seen characters actively hunting what looks like a pack of boars using their longbows. However, fishing or at the very least boat travel might be in there too, as we see a few shots later on with these characters waiting for us to embark, as well as more boats already floating on the lake further down the line. So that could either be other players, as we'll soon talk about multiplayer, or even other NPCs. And since huge backpacks seem to be heavily featured in most of these shots, it's likely that this is how we're gonna manage and maybe even upgrade our inventory system. I mean, this should be very similar to No Man's Sky in a sense, but maybe in a different kind of way, and honestly I cannot wait to see it. But another thing that's new in here is the Traversal category. Obviously with a planet the size of Earth, you cannot explore it all on foot, and there were so many options shown just in this gameplay reveal alone. First of all, yes, we have gliders. I don't think there are open world games nowadays that don't feature this, but I'm glad that Hello Games has jumped on the trend. They do seem to have different skins too, so at least 2 different versions are present just in this shot, but it does make them a perfect way to descend from tall mountains and such. However, flying mounts are even bigger. We've got a ton of these throughout the entire trailer, and especially so dragons. I've counted at least like 3 or 4 different ones just from the types I'm seeing, but there are other flying creatures supposedly, like for example some of these mockingbirds, I guess they are called, but all in all it doesn't seem that there is a shortage of them. And also ground mounts. Yes, you can totally tame like these goat/horse hybrid creatures, but maybe there are others in there too. Now obviously surviving out there is easier when you're not alone. If in No Man's Sky we got to find other travelers in space, here we get to meet other players on Earth. So according to HG, you can both team up with friends or randomly encounter other players in the wilderness, but there's also an option, should you choose it, to completely play solo. A key aspect here is that you can construct persistent buildings and communities or strike out alone to discover the world for others. And this last bit here sounds quite interesting. This might or might not imply a new gameplay element, so maybe something that lets you become an explorer and then have your findings benefit others too, such as slowly uncovering continents or islands or new points of interest and have that information propagated and revealed to other players, maybe via a shared map of sorts. We already had the discovery map and, well, discoveries in general in No Man's Sky. It's just that you only saw them when you got close to them. Now, do we have other details about the game in the meantime? Well, there are quite a few in there. So one is in terms of some of the gameplay elements sparsely being showed throughout the trailer. One of them is these braziers we can see on mountain ranges. So this could possibly be a survival element, maybe a source of heat to protect against the harsh cold weathers. Then later on in the shot, we have this floating island, which appears to also feature a lighthouse on top. So maybe some kind of place to land with the dragons, maybe a community, or maybe some kind of place to interact with NPCs and buy resources. Or who knows, maybe a player-created base. Player characters can also be seen using torches, so likely something, again, helpful in exploration, maybe in dark caves and other similar places, or maybe as an additional source of heat. This also might imply that there's cooking in this game given its survival elements and nature. One extra thing that they have done, which I haven't talked about yet, is underwater exploration. So according to the game's description, you get to explore from the top of the mountain ranges all the way to the most bottom place in the sea. So this presumably might imply that we do get underwater exploration too. We only saw some of the characters kind of diving and swimming in shallow waters, but I do wonder how oceans are going to be handled. So no release date just yet, and also no platforms being announced besides PC. It seems that only its Steam page is currently up, but knowing Hello Games, they will likely release it on all platforms eventually. Anyway, hopefully this is going to be a 2024 release. Let me know down below what you think about Light No Fire and if you're looking forward to it. In the meantime, thanks much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.